Hello. Hey, oh. Ah, it's Thursday. Thirst. It's Thursday. Hello and welcome. Yes, I know there are a lot of trial streams going around, and I heard that there was a verdict in the Scott Peterson, so everybody is doing that. And yeah, but here I am, and we are going to continue with the Young Thug Rico case. And hello, Wim. Okay, it's 36 degrees Celsius. That is a lot. It is not that here. It is decent, about 25, 26 degrees centigrade outside. And I have my air cooler on, so yeah, it will improve, hopefully. Well, where were we yesterday? At the previous episode 5 or part 5. We heard from a medical examiner that was actually competent, which came as a complete surprise. And he actually explained everything he did very easily. He explained his methods. He was good. I would see him as a competent medical examiner. Hello, Kim. And Brooks are here. Hey. Then it went downhill fast with a gang expert, or a supposed gang expert. He was a gang expert in the county jail. And yeah, he was not good at direct examination, and it did not improve with cross-examination, where we found out that his method of determining that if a person is a gang member or not is basically asking them, are you a gang member? And if they say yes, and have some, may or may not have a tattoo of sorts, yes, they are a gang member. But what if they don't? Well, he can still go for gang signs and stuff like that. Then he was asked, can't people leave a gang? And his sole answer was no. And that was epic. That was because it's so blatantly wrong and false. People, yeah, Wayne Brady failed to understand. Yeah. It was so blatantly false. And by the next question from the defense attorney, it was evident that he just stepped in it. So today we are going to continue with the cross-examination on this so-called gang expert. And I jumped back a bit because it was so epic to listen to some of this stuff. But all in all, during the first 3 days, plus a bit on day 4, is that a grand total of what I see as competent experts are 2 out of 13 or 14 presented experts in this Daubert hearing so far. And that was, yeah, that's just plain wrong. This is a RICO case. They have spent millions of taxpayers' money to bring this to a RICO trial. And the best they can find is a prison guard posing as a gang expert, a handwriting expert who was about 112 years old. They also found the pinch and zoom guy, who the state tried to get in as a forensic video analyst. He still got in, but only as an expert in video enhancing, which was take a screenshot, put it in Photoshop, pinch and zoom. That was the entirety of his expertise. And then you had the chief medical examiner who does not follow standard operational procedure. And when she finishes her final report, she only brings in the notes she believes are relevant and discards the rest, making it virtually impossible for a competent defense attorney to just to challenge the result. So that is where we are now. But let's see if something improves. I got back a couple of minutes, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, so we can hear this defense attorney pick this guy apart. Are you ready, folks? Here we go.
No.
Okay.
Oh.
What type of information about the interview that was conducted?
Yes.
Okay. And in that interview, do you remember what questions were asked?
No.
Okay. What type of questions would be asked to determine if somebody is or is not in a gang?
Usually they would just ask the person, are you in a gang?
And according to your memory, did Mr. Dorsey answer in the affirmative to that question?
Yes.
He did. And according to your memory, what did he answer?
He stated he was a sex-minded murder blood.
Okay. And again, this is a documented record that has been given to the state. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So we should have a copy of that somewhere.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in that document, other than, hello, Mr. Inmate, what is your affiliation? What else do they ask them?
Basic information as name, date of birth, address, social security, things of that nature.
Let me make my question a little more specific. Other than, hey, Mr. Inmate, what are you affiliated with? What other questions are asked that would trigger you making a decision as to whether or not somebody's affiliated with a gang?
No other question besides if they are in the gang.
Okay. So just to clarify, are you in a gang? Yes or no? And then what's your name? What's your birthday? What's your social?
Yes, sir.
Now you want to know their basic information, birthday, social, and all that, so you can keep track of them. Is that right?
No.
Well, why are you asking for their social then? You're trying to get a gift card?
That's just part of the process of the classification.
But processes have a reason. What is the reason for that process?
Your Honor, he already answered that he doesn't have reason for that as part of the process.
All right. Now, do you also do their fingerprints?
No.
All right. Someone else takes their fingerprints. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Does the person taking the fingerprints, do you consider them an expert in fingerprints?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Now, after having this interview with, I guess you said Mr. Smith, investigator Smith had this interview, and then the main reason he decided to classify Mr. Dorsey as sex-minded murder is because he said, yes, I am. Is that right?
Yes, along with the tattoos or the picture of the tattoos that she took.
Are these interviews recorded?
No.
So it is just what the officer remembers, and we got to take her word for it.
Yes.
Now, let me correct that. Actually, we don't have to take her word for it because she's not here. We have to take your word that she did that. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Now, you were asked on multiple occasions, what do you do to classify somebody? And if I remember correctly, you kept answering, we look at literature, we search the cells, and we listen to jail calls. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Now, when you look at literature, Specific to Mr. Dorsey, what literature did you find in his possession?
I didn't find any literature in his possession.
I'm sorry?
I didn't find any literature from Mr. Dorsey.
Okay. Now, sometimes there's multiple steps because you want to corroborate, right?
Yes.
I mean, somebody can tell you, I am Billy, but they're really not. They are hypothetical. They might say, I am Billy, but they're not. They might be a gangster disciple, but they want to be placed with the police because maybe they have a reason to go in there and take care of something. Is that right?
Yes, that could happen.
People lie to you. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So then once you hear something, you go and you look for more information. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't find any literature regarding Mr. Dorsey?
No.
Now, what are the identifiers of sex, money, murder?
You might see a tattoo with a SMM. They might have a Portland Trailblazer symbol on them, or a blazer, or they might show two guns or have two guns, or you might see the word two guns.
Okay. And
So, tattoos of guns. That's roughly 30% of the population of Texas, I believe. Yeah.
once you have a tattoo, is forever, isn't it?
Yes.
All right. And is gang membership eternal? Are you a gang member forever?
Yes.
Okay. So once you're in one gang, you can't shift gangs.
You can,
You just told me that you're in a gang forever. How are you going to do that?
but it's still considered a gang.
Oh, okay. Okay. Part of your training, am I right, is that they tell you to also consult with other agencies, correct?
Yes.
Because what you're doing is you're gathering intelligence, is that right?
Yes.
And you don't want to have just the intelligence of a small circle of information, right?
Yes.
Okay. What agencies do you consult on a regular basis?
The Cobb County Police Department and Department of Corrections.
All right, but that's still just the same group of people you're dealing with, right?
Yes.
Do you ever go out and consult with the investigators in Tripp County?
No, I haven't.
Now, Tripp County has a very big gang problem, don't they?
I don't know.
We're not qualifying to say.
I sustain the objection.
So today, you're here to tell us that the only thing you only know stuff at the jail. Right.
Yes.
All right.
DeKalb County.
At the DeKalb County Jail,
Yes.
which is a different county than the county we're in today.
Yes.
These gang profiles that y'all create, do you share them with other agencies?
If they ask for them, yes.
Okay. Have you looked
Hey,
into
Sal.
gang profiles of other agencies for the same individuals?
I have asked for DeKalb County for this individual we're speaking of today.
Okay. You had asked, and what did you get as a result of you asking that?
I got a gang profile from that department,
For what department?
DeKalb County.
When did you get that?
I don't recall the actual date.
Was it like a few weeks ago, a few months ago?
No, it was months ago.
Months ago, okay. But you are DeKalb County though.
Yes.
All right. So I'm confused. You being DeKalb County, you asked for DeKalb County's?
Yes, the DeKalb County Police Department has their own separate gang unit.
Okay. And who is in that gang unit?
Different police officer detectives.
All right. Who's the detective you spoke with about my client, Mr. Dorsey?
I can't recall his name.
Okay. And then when he gave you this profile, he just emailed it to you, or how did you get that profile?
He just emailed it.
Did you have a conversation with him?
No.
Okay. Did you go back with him and say, hey, my information checks, it's the same as yours, or hey, some of your information is conflicting. Did you do that?
No.
Do you ever do that?
Yes.
All right. Have you ever done that with regards to my client, Mr. Dorsey?
No.
Why not?
I didn't see the need to.
You don't see the need to verify information that you collected and other agencies have collected?
He already said he didn't say the need to.
I stand the objection.
With regards to the two profiles that you have, one was made by the Cobb County Police Department that you don't remember the name of that officer, is that right?
Yes, sir.
The other one was made by Investigator Taylor Smith, who was with the Cobb County Sheriff's Office, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Tell me a little about those profiles. Are they both the exact same or do they differ in some ways, and in what ways?
No, they'll be different. The cab polices will probably have more narratives of what they occur on with the individual on the street.
Do you know how the CAB classifies, what information they use to classify somebody?
The cab police know.
Okay. Have you ever gotten a profile from the Atlanta Police Department?
Not that I recall of.
You didn't ask for one?
No.
Would it be beneficial to know what the Atlanta Police Department is saying about my client for your classification purposes?
It could.
Okay. Do you usually just do things by gut feeling, or is there a manual for you to follow when classifying somebody?
No, I think I'm not sure that argument is.
Yes, it is. I stand the objection.
I'll rephrase, Your Honor. When classifying somebody, the things you do to classify them, are they just the things that you do because that's what you feel like doing, or is there an actual number of steps, a methodology given to you by the people who trained you?
Yes, it's certain things that we would do in order to classify somebody.
All right, and that is, so it's not just whatever you want to do. There's steps you have to follow.
Yes.
All right, please tell us what are those steps that you have to follow when classifying somebody.
Investigate phone calls, conduct cell searches to try to find literature, things of that nature.
No, but listen, that's just the same thing you can say.
It's no specific steps. It's just investigating.
Okay, so there's no specific steps. You just do whatever you want to do.
It's not whatever I want, but it's investigating.
All right. Now, do you know if other agencies?
This sounds like the Karen Facebook group investigating whatever. Somebody told him, do it like this. And he may or may not do it like that. Jesus Christ.
Follow the same steps you follow?
I don't know.
In this conference you go to, do they share best practices?
Yes.
What are those best practices that you've been taught about?
Well, as the agency, it's a lot of police departments, so their practices wouldn't be the same as mine in the sheriff's office.
Do you know what best practices means?
Any practice that benefits you the most.
Did you ever go to this conference? You're going there to learn, is that right?
Yes.
And as you're going there to learn, what did you gain from it? What did you decide? I'm going to start doing that because I like the way they do it.
Definitely phone calls.
Definitely phone calls. So you weren't doing phone calls before?
I was.
Okay. And have you ever learned anything new from this conference you go to?
Yes.
What?
Just how to prosecute different cases or bring about charges for different cases.
Okay.
What?
And you talked about that. You talked about part of your duties are to investigate and later
This guy
prosecute.
doesn't know the difference between learning something that he can apply as a gang expert and learn about things other people do to gangs. Oh.
How many cases have you prosecuted as a result of your gang investigations?
Maybe 3.
Maybe 3. Do you remember those 3? There's not that many. Which 3 were those?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say their names or.
It's public record, right?
Yeah, I would ask you if you want to. You could just describe the details of those people. Those people are not related to this meeting.
I'll sustain the objection.
Oh no, I want to hear him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I don't think she objected to the question. She just objected to him saying names. But
Yes.
if you give the details of these cases.
I've had gang initiations where people were jumped in the gang. I had people getting stabbed due to telling or snitching in the gang.
That's 2. What's the third one?
It's pretty much the same. Usually jumping and physical altercations for the same. I maybe had another one where it was a physical altercation.
Okay. None of those involved Mr. Dorsey, did they?
No.
Okay. What gangs were involved in those that you prosecuted?
Bloods.
Blood's a very general term, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, which bloods?
G. Sean, sex, money, murder.
Okay. Now you said that you determine leadership in part based on phone calls. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Because when people want to do something, they have to get permission from leadership. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You made a very big claim that my client, Mr. Dorsey, is sex, money, murder leadership. Is that right?
Did hear that at one point in time, yes.
You heard that at one point in time. When did you hear that?
Months or maybe a year ago.
A year ago? Mm-hmm. What did you hear?
We heard that Mr. Dorsey was over the sex, money, murder, bloods over the jail.
Is that what you heard somebody on the phone saying? Mr. Cordelius Dorsey is the chief executive officer of sex, money, murder. Is that what you heard?
Not in those words.
Okay, well, then tell me what the words were.
The words were, yeah, his nickname, Juicy Boy Polo, he's running things in here.
Okay, who was in that phone call?
I don't recall the name.
Do you have that phone call saved?
I don't know.
So you don't know who was in the phone call, and you didn't even save the phone call.
I could have said, I just don't remember if I did.
You guys have the capability of saving calls.
Yes.
Right. Now, I guess you don't have more information about that, so let's move on. Sometimes in calls, you determine somebody is leadership because they need to give the blessing for something to happen. Is that right?
Yes.
They need to approve a murder. Is that right?
Yes.
More specifically, I think you said that they need to approve the murders that are happening at the DeKalb County Jail. Is that right?
Well, sometimes assaults, yes.
Okay. Or sometimes assaults. How many murders have taken place at the DeKalb County Jail since you've been there?
Murders that's gang related?
No, first, let's start with murders. How many murders inside the DeKalb County Jail have taken place since you've been there?
One.
One. When was that?
I don't recall the year, but it was years ago.
Years ago.
Yes.
My client was at the DeKalb County Jail. He was an inmate there for some time. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you remember when he was an inmate there?
Maybe 2019. I don't remember the exact year.
Maybe 2019. Through when?
He just said he didn't recall exactly when Mr. Dorsey was an inmate there.
I don't think that's what he said. The first he answered, my first question was when did he get there? And my second question was when did he leave? And he should be able to.
Well, if he knows, do you know when he arrived and when he left, sir?
No, I don't recall the exact date.
Okay. This murder you speak of, did it happen while my client was there?
No.
Okay, so unrelated to my client, that murder.
Yes.
Was that murder gang related?
No.
Okay, so you testify in direct that you can identify leadership because they give the approval for a murder, but is it right to say that there's been 0 murders since my client had been at the DeKalb County Jail?
Yes.
Is that because he prevented anybody from killing somebody?
Not of my recollection.
You don't know if he saved a bunch of lives?
I don't know.
Okay. Now, you also said there's some assaults. Sometimes they got to get blessings for assaults. Is that right?
Yes.
I am going to assume there's been quite a bit of assaults and jumpings since you've been there.
Yes.
All right. How many of those assaults were approved by Mr. Dorsey?
I have no knowledge of how many that's been approved by him.
So first, that one of the factors is somebody giving permission to commit acts at the jail puts him in a leadership position, right?
Yes.
But you don't have any from Mr.
Wait
Dorsey.
for the trial
No.
to start.
What other factors do you determine when you're trying to see whether somebody is leadership or not?
It would just be through phone calls and different interviews with inmates stating.
Okay. Have you spoken with anybody that has told you that Mr. Dorsey is leadership?
No.
So today, you testify in direct that you have determined his leadership. Is it fair to say that the only factor that goes into that determination, into your potentially your expertise, your expert opinion, is that one phone call that you don't remember?
Yes.
All right.
Good
Who
lawyer.
are the other leaders of sex, money, murder at the DeKalb County Jail?
I have no knowledge of that right now.
You are the gang expert at the DeKalb County Jail, right?
Yes.
Who are the, first tell me the structure. I know a little bit about police structure. You know, you have captain, chief, lieutenant, sergeants, deputies, and all that, little bit military, not as much as the court, but you tell me what is the structure of the sex money gang at the DeKalb County Jail?
I can't tell you an exact structure at the jail.
No, don't tell me the exact one. Tell me whatever you got.
I just go by from what I investigate and hear on phone calls or what I might learn from
They may or may not.
different things that I find through cell searches or something like that.
Cool. Based on that, tell me from what you just said, phone calls, cell searches, literature, what do you know or do you think you know about the structure of sex, money, murder at the DeKalb County Jail?
I don't know. I will go based off of what a person said on phone call or if they say they're running things. That would be my,
So you don't know?
no.
I don't think there's a point to keep going on. No further questions.
Anyone else?
Please.
Yes, Mr. Wright, go ahead.
How can they even put this guy on? How can the state?
Back up there.
How can the state put this guy on the stand as a gang expert? He doesn't know shit. He claims the other attorney's client is a leadership in Blood's affiliation. From a call he doesn't remember. They may or may not be recorded. He's the gang expert at that county jail, and he has no idea about the structure of the gang. I mean, this is amazing. I can't wait for the trial to start. Yeah, there are ghosts in the courtroom. There are no people in chains at all. Oh, hallelujah.
Hello, sir. Quick question. In DeKalb County, you said you're not familiar with YSL, correct?
Yes.
As in correct, you're not.
I'm not familiar yet.
Okay. And you're not familiar, well, I think you said Billy's, correct? You know them.
I know them.
And sex, money, murder, correct?
Yes.
And these are all separate gangs, correct?
Separate gangs under the Blood gang.
Okay. But as far as you know, does YSL, is it just some sort of conglomerate, some big group that everyone gets to belong to? Is that?
No, I'd object. We're not trying to qualify him at all in YSL.
I
He's not
sustain the objection.
going to speak on YSL.
And your familiarity, or I think it's about 2 to 3 years back that you started your training?
Yes.
Okay, so you wouldn't know anything going on back in 2015 related to gang activity, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, they resurrected Andy Warhol. I don't know how much longer this guy will be on the stand, but if he is approved as a gang expert, I can't wait for trial to start.
Anyone else?
Just 1 or 2 questions, Judge. Well, just a few
One or two?
Just a few questions.
Okay, oh. So you've learned, you got the Menendez method, huh? Is that
Exactly.
right? Okay, all right.
All right. Investigator Hall, I heard you use the word prosecute, that you have assisted or you've prosecuted at least, not at least, you said 3 cases, gang cases at the DeKalb County Jail. Is that correct?
Yes.
Does prosecute mean that you testified in court in regards to those cases?
I've done hearings, but I haven't been to actual trial for the cases yet.
Okay, you've never been called as a witness at a trial of a case involving any sort of gang activity at the DeKalb County Jail?
Yes,
You have never been qualified as an expert. Is that correct?
that's correct.
All right. And in regards to your duties at the jail, you classify individuals at the jail. That's what you testified to, right?
Yes,
And that is based upon a variety of different information that you get. You can get it from a hearsay statement of another officer, correct?
yes.
Welcome as a member, Wim. Welcome. There's members only content on my channel. Yeah, thank you so much. And if anybody else wants to become a member, feel free. It's $3 a month. There's members only content. I ask you for advice. I ask for feedback, and sometimes you give me hints on stuff you want me to bring forward. So you're a member is very much a part of this channel. So thank you, Wim, and welcome.
You can get it from a document, or your duties can get that information from a document prepared by somebody else, correct?
Yes,
That you have no personal knowledge of yourself, right?
yes,
You can get that from a phone call that you might listen to, correct?
yes.
Just a phone call like anybody else could listen to, correct?
Well, they would have to have the rights to listen to them in the jail, but yeah.
Sure. But I mean,
What do you
if
focus? Camera
hypothetically
guy,
a phone
back to
call is made at the jail and it's provided to, let's say,
to
me
the guy
in
asked the
Discovery, I
question.
can listen to that same phone call and get the same information that you get from that phone call, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I have no idea, Porcelain Thunder.
Do you have any idea, sir, how often inmates are wrongly classified as belonging to a gang or not at the jail?
No.
Okay. That's all I have.
Yes, Mr. Short.
Nice. Nice.
Sir, how are you?
Good.
Max Shard on behalf of Shannon Stillwell. You've never met my client, Mr. Stillwell, to your recollection, have you?
No.
You've never met my client, Mr. Stillwell, to your recollection, have you?
I never met him.
Okay. I just want to talk to you. I'm not going to ask you anything about Cordarius Dorsey. I just want to talk about your
Yes, this is Attorney Short. I don't know how he spells his name, but we can all imagine.
methodologies. When Attorney Jimenez asked the steps you followed, you spoke about listening to phone calls and looking for gang literature, correct?
Yes.
Okay. To me, that's talking about your sources of information. I don't want to talk about your sources. I want to talk about once you have the information, how do you make the call about if someone's in a gang and what gang they are in, okay?
Okay.
All right. So you've attended conferences?
Yes.
Okay. To your understanding, as a gang, you would consider yourself a gang investigator, correct?
Yes.
Okay. To your understanding as a gang investigator, is there a universal classification system used across the United States?
I wouldn't say universal. I don't know the other agencies' practices involving their classification.
Well, do they teach a certain classification system at the conferences that you attend?
No.
Okay. Are there a specific list of factors that you have been taught to consider before you determine if someone is in a gang or what gang?
Yeah, it would be based on investigating.
I understand that you investigate, but after you're done with investigations and have compiled all your information, do you have a set of factors that you consider to determine if someone is in a gang or not, and if so, what gang?
It would be based off what they give us or what we find. If I'm understanding the question right.
Well, you indicated that if someone says, I'm in so-and-so gang, when you talk to them, you might consider that in making a determination if they're in a gang.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider it, but I wouldn't just base it off that one statement alone.
Okay, so you would find it to be incorrect methodology to to identify someone as a member of a specific gang based solely on self-admission?
Solely off self-admission, I would say it needs to be more investigating to find out if it's true.
Okay, so as an expert in gang investigations, basing it solely off of self-admission would be incorrect.
No, but I would say that you need to investigate more, find out more things to prove that that person is part of that gang.
Right, so it'd be incorrect to base it solely on self-admission.
Yeah.
Okay. What other factors as a gang investigator do you consider?
Tattoos, the gang literature, as far as the jail, what we find, maybe statements by the person.
The person being the person you're investigating?
Yes.
Okay. And in your testimony, there's not a nationally, universally recognized scoring system or anything like that?
No, not universally recognized.
How about in Georgia? Is there a Georgia universally recognized scoring system?
No, not that I know of.
How about DeKalb County?
Yes. We do have a scoring system.
Do you use that scoring system?
Yes.
Okay, well, how does that scoring system work?
It's based on a certain amount of points. Maybe over 10 points, you would be considered a gang member, or 6 to 8 points, you would be an associate, and it's depending on what questions that they answer.
Okay, well, what are the factors?
If they state affiliation, or they state they got jumped or blessed in, or if they are the defendants with somebody else, is multiple that I can't all recall right now on the paper.
Okay, and these points, if something doesn't apply, do you get negative points?
No.
So you just add points?
Just add points.
Okay, and I'm not trying to trick you with something that you don't have in front of you. Do you have the ability right now to explain the point system to me? Like what's worth what points or anything?
I can't right now, no.
Okay, well, where is that located?
I will have that at my office.
Is it published anywhere by DeKalb County that the public can find it?
Possibly. I'm sure it would be published if requested.
Okay. All right, thank you. No further questions.
Anybody else? Yes, Mr. Williams.
Good morning, Angela D. Williams from Mr. Ryan. You're aware that people join gangs for safety?
Yes.
Do you classify someone who joins a jail for safety?
Yes, we will stick.
Do you notify?
Basis.
I'd ask to clarify, she said, do you, she asked about people who join a jail for safety? I don't know.
Call her bitch.
Well, yeah, why don't you, I'll stand for Mr. Williams. Why don't you rephrase that?
Okay, do people join gangs in jail for safety?
Sometimes, yes.
Do you classify somebody who's in jail who joins a gang for safety?
Yes, we will still classify.
And do inmates get tattoos in jail after they've been through intake?
Yes.
Okay, nothing else. Thank you.
All right, anyone else?
Yes, Your Honor, short briefly.
She was front heavy.
Well, I guess I should say less than 100.
Good question.
Oh,
So I just have to figure something out. Are you a gang expert? Are you a DeKalb County jail gang expert? Or are you a DeKalb County jail gang classification expert? What are you?
Your Honor, we've moved to classify him as an expert in classifications of the DeKalb County Jail.
Great.
okay.
Which one are you?
I'm the DeKalb County expert in classifying at the jail.
Okay, so it's just classifying gang members
Yes.
At the DeKalb.
At the
at the DeKalb County Jail. Okay. Now, in this role, do you have any experience or training going back to, I guess, the makeup of the gang, the history of all gangs, the hierarchy of all gangs, and I mean all gangs in the DeKalb County Jail?
It would be based on what I find and what I investigate in the jail.
So Well, your training isn't based off of what you find and investigate. My question was, from your training, do you get that information to go into
At
what you're finding?
some trainings, yes.
Okay, so tell me about that. What type of trainings do you get with the background, the history, the hierarchy of gangs that you've been trained to help you do your job?
I haven't been trained. Well, the trainings I've been to, it doesn't go into the hierarchies, but it goes to basically identifying and recognizing.
You would agree that not all gangs are controlled or even ran the same, correct?
Yes.
And you would agree that the Bloods specifically are completely different from the Latin Kings or the Crips or even the Aryan Brotherhood, correct?
Yes.
All right, so tell me your training and experience about, or what training experience do you have to separate certain gangs at certain times so you know who they are or you know where they are in the system?
As far as the jail, I would know by the literature that I find or the phone calls that I would hear.
And I get that you find stuff in your investigations. I'm still just talking about your training outside of your investigation. What are you trained to do that equips you to do that job? That's
David had a theory when he was on yesterday. Earlier, they were talking about an officer named Taylor. And he or she, don't know the gender. Maybe he or she chooses her own, I don't know. She left, she quit her job and moved away and does not want anything to do with this. That's David's theory. So now they are left with this guy, who clearly isn't an expert in, he knows how to tell if a person is a gang member or not, maybe. But is he an expert when he doesn't even understand the basic question of what is your training, what is your experience?
that's what I'm asking.
We are trying to identify certain tattoos that we will see. We will see maybe how they are talking, the lingo, maybe what flags they might be wearing.
Okay, so no specific training as to this is why I know it's a member of a blood, or this is why I know.
Yes, it would be things like a blood would have a 5-pointed star, or you might see a Latin King with yellow, or things of that nature.
Okay, and you put that into, I guess, this system when you're classifying a person, correct?
Would I put things that I found in my training, would I put it into that system
things that you learned in your training that get you through your investigation?
Yes, I would
put that information in the system.
I will put that together, yes.
Okay, so in your experience, you already testified that people go into gangs for different reasons. So in your experience, is there any time when someone gets out of a gang?
I haven't experienced it.
You haven't experienced it?
No.
Okay, so through your training, you've never had a class where someone has said some gang members get out of a gang at some point in life. You've never had that training?
I've heard of stories where there's been people who say they've got out of the gangs, but I haven't myself just experienced somebody getting out of a gang.
And that wasn't my question. My question is through your
Go back half an hour. He says clearly on the question, can someone leave a gang? He said no. A specific no to that question. Now, all of a sudden, he had heard stories about people leaving a gang. Oh, really? So why the did you say no to that question?
Training and experience and just common knowledge, because the state's calling you an expert, you know that there are certain times when people get out of gangs, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, once you've classified somebody as a gang, because that's your expertise, how do you declassify them if they get out? Have you been taught to do that?
Crap show.
No.
Okay. So basically, you just put stuff into the system. You don't know what happens afterwards.
Yes, you can mark them inactive or active, or if you have the knowledge, you can make a person an inactive gang member.
But I kind of just asked you that, and you said no. So let me back up. You put people in the system as a certain gang member.
Yes.
How do you take them out of the system as a?
If you're under arrest, you get appointed a lawyer. You can ask for a specific lawyer. Now, of course, police will always try to interrogate without one, but generally speaking, they have to ask, do you want an attorney present? Generally, not always. And the Swedish system is the court, or the justice system, the court, pays for your defense. Now, if you get found guilty in a court of law in Sweden, you may have to pay for attorney's fees. But if you are acquitted, you don't have to pay for attorney's fees. So that is how it works in Sweden. To moving into a trial, you don't have to pay anything. In a criminal case, that is, for your attorney. You're being appointed one, or you can ask for one and that person can accept it. And that is to have a level playing field between prosecution and defense. If the prosecution charges you with murder, your attorney can ask for a specific expert in a specific field, and the court will pay for it. That is to keep a level playing field. It's Nash equilibrium, the right of equal information, which translates into, if you're charged with something, you should not be in a disadvantage towards the prosecution. So that's why the court are paying the lawyers.
A certain gang member.
Well, we will mark them inactive.
Okay, not take them out, just mark them inactive.
Yes.
Are you familiar that Georgia just got that new statewide gang database?
Yes.
Does the information that you put in that data or in your system go into that database?
No.
It stays only with you.
Yes.
All right, no further questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Justice briefly.
Yes, Ms. Bernard, go ahead.
Thank you.
Gina Bernard for Jaden Myrick. Good morning, investigator. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
So you are aware that when somebody gets arrested in DeKalb County, they go to first appearance, correct?
Yes.
And when they're at first appearance, every single person that comes in and is arrested is represented by, gets a public defender and is represented by a public defender, correct?
Yes.
And your interviews of these individuals comes after first appearance or before?
Usually after.
Okay, so you are interviewing people without their attorneys being present, is that correct?
Yes.
And you're not Mirandizing them either?
I already objected to flying.
Who? Wow.
Questioning the different areas.
I stand the objection.
Thank you, that's all that I have. Thank you.
All right, anybody else?
That was,
Okay.
well, that was not a part of his hearing as an expert. That should have been in the actual trial. Therefore, the objection was sustained. But he is interviewing people without attorney. That is really wrong. That's really wrong. Huh.
Good morning, Attorney Eric Johnson for Mr. Eppinger. Just had a few questions to ask you. You stated on your examination earlier that majority of your information regarding this classifications come. Oh,
Use the microphone.
sorry, Your Honor.
All right.
Kind of tall. But you stated on your examination that majority of your, I guess, expertise comes from jail, listening to jail calls, correct?
Yes.
And also from reading stuff that you might see in someone's cell, correct?
Yes.
So with these jail calls, you have no way of determining the veracity of anyone that's on the phone call, do you?
Regarding who's talking,
I mean, as far as the truthfulness of what they're saying.
No.
So basically, you're taking what they're saying and speculating as to what it means, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you go into the jail cells and you retrieve the literature, you're speculating as to what that literature means, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you don't have any signed statements from anyone saying this is what it means, any sign?
No.
Nothing like that?
No.
So basically, majority of the information or the conclusions that you have reached is mere speculation.
Objection, argumentative.
I stay in objection.
So I'll rephrase the question, Your Honor. So is it safe to say that majority of your conclusions are merely your opinions and not based on any particular fact?
Well, it'd be based on what I think, the knowledge I gained from what I heard.
Right. But in your opinion of that information, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it's possible that opinion could be wrong.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
All right. Anybody else, any other defense counsels wish to ask any questions of Mr. Hall? Okay. Argument.
Your Honor, permission to redirect briefly?
Okay.
Thank you,
Just
Judge.
request that the redirect is, tailored to whatever is scope.
No worries, Gigi. Family first, your business first. You being a moderator here is purely voluntarily. I don't expect anything, and I'm grateful that you are here. But you know this, I've told you this on numerous occasions, that family first. If you have other business, that's your priority. Okay? But thank you for showing up.
That's federal court. Yeah, okay. Georgia has no scope. Georgia has no scope rule. Remember? Okay.
Judge, I will keep
One
to the
witness,
being
one attorney.
Yeah, one witness, one attorney, though, Ms. Love. You're gonna need to let your colleague handle that, though.
Your Honor, I would ask.
Oh yeah. If you're completely new here, this Daubert hearing and later when the trial won't start has prosecutor Love, attorney Short. We have an investigator, Fanny. If you're British, that's funny. And yesterday, part 4 or part 5 of this series, we had on the stand ADA Sprinkles. The names here in this is amazing. Oh.
That the court provide leave and provide the state, with the court's permission, the state can have more than one attorney, and I would ask for the court's permission to redirect the investigator on the stand, please, Your Honor.
I have some discretion in order to do that. I'll allow her to do that.
And Your Honor, I will keep my questions tailored to what was asked on cross-examination.
Okay, all right.
Thank you,
Again.
Judge.
Just reserve an opportunity to recross if necessary, Your Honor.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Judge. Good afternoon, investigator. Good morning, is it still, Investigator Hall? How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. You were asked on cross-examination what training that you get in order to do your job. Do you remember being asked that?
Yes.
What is GGIA?
The Georgia Gang Investigators Association.
And do you obtain information during training with GGIA that helps you to do your job?
Yes.
Is this information that is generally known to the public?
Expert.
Not all the time.
Okay. And do you obtain information from other gang investigators during the sessions that you have with GGIA?
Yeah.
Yes.
Respectfully, Your Honor, I know Honorable Deputy Attorney Lobo's not here, but ask me, were asked by us already.
Well, she got here when you all started your examination, your cross, so, and she may have been here a little bit before that, but.
What does that have to do with anything? The other prosecutor can fill her in. She, just because she was there late does not mean she can ask a bunch of new questions. That's bullshit. Huh.
Not by me, Your Honor.
I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. And do you obtain information from those sessions with GGIA that aids you in doing your job?
Yes,
And are the sessions with GGIA open to the general public?
yes,
Are you telling me that anyone can walk in off the street and go into a GGIA conference?
Hold on.
Your Honor, I'm clarifying.
I'm gonna overrule the objection. Go ahead.
yes, you would have to, you would have to pay, but yes, you would, anybody could.
And when you say anyone could, can anyone come in and talk or present at those GGIA sessions? Or are they limited to people within the Georgia?
How would he know? That's up to the organization. That's foundational. But so far, no. Oh.
Gang Investigators Association?
Basis.
I do not believe that this is the scope of a cross-examination.
Remember, Georgia has no scope rule. It's a thorough and sifting cross-examination. Plus, I believe that Ms. Love is just trying to flesh.
Who just said it's redirection?
Miss Bernard.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Yeah, I understand that, but all right, since she's back on direct, okay, it's still, there's still relevant questions related to, his knowledge and experience, so I'll allow it.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. Ms. Bernard, anything else, madam?
No, I'm still.
He's feeding him the answer.
Okay, all right.
The information that you obtain or the information that is given out, the information through the speakers, are those speakers anyone off the streets or are they Georgia Gang Investigator Association members and invitees?
They're members and invitees.
Okay. You were asked whether the information that you use to classify or the opinions that you draw from the information that you hear defendants speak themselves, whether or not you speculate about their meaning. Do you recall being asked that question?
Yes,
That objection was
What
sustained.
is false flagging?
claiming something that you're not.
In your experience as a gang investigator, is false flagging something that is okay to do?
No,
Why?
because you're representing a gang that you're not a part of. It's disrespect to the gang members.
And based on the information that you've received during training and your experience as a gang investigator, are there repercussions to false flagging?
Yes,
Your Honor, relevance to this question.
All right, hold on. Madam, you want to answer that? And then I'll take Mr. Jimenez after that. So,
Yes, Your Honor. The witness was asked on cross-examination whether or not he speculates about things. He was asked whether
That was sustained, that question. You don't get to redirect on a question that was sustained. Jesus Christ.
not, or the significance that he gives to information that he hears, defendants speak out of their own mouths. I am asking this witness to clarify, based on the questions asked during cross-examination, whether or not or why he gives, what value he gives to the information that he receives. And I'm laying the foundation for that answer.
all right.
This question also crosses speculation.
I'm going to overrule your objection. Yeah, hold on, Mr. Jimenez, you have
Yes, Your Honor.
an objection on that question?
On that question, Your Honor, any line of question, my objection is relevance. And the basis is because we are at a Daubert hearing. We're not here for him to tell us whatever he's trying to get at. We're here only to look at the Daubert factors. I'm sorry, I kind of sound like a mistake, but we can see whether the testimony is based on sufficient facts and data, reliable principles and methods.
Mr. Jimenez, here's the thing with Daubert. When you're dealing with non-scientific witnesses like he is, the Daubert factors may not apply, but it more so you look at knowledge and experience of the expert rather than a particular methodology. So I have to evaluate some other things I mean, I'm not supposed to ignore all the factors if there are some other factors that apply.
If there's no science behind it, he's not a freaking expert. He's a witness. Because an expert gets to elaborate. An expert gets to have opinion, gets to opine on things that may or may not be factually correct.
But this pertains more so to knowledge and experience, and she's clarifying some of the things that he brought up during the fleshing out more of the direct, and they're relevant for the court's analysis as a gatekeeping function.
Thank you, Your
Just for
Honor.
the record, I just
Hold on.
to make it very clear that when we were trying to get into very similar questions, we were objective over relevance because of dollar. And that's fine, I understand that, I just want to say that whatever's good for the business, we're handling. If she can ask, we should also be allowed to ask. If we can ask, neither should the state. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, well, remember, gatekeeping is different than cross-examination and weight and the jury's issue on credibility. Ms. Bernard?
My objection is in addition to what my colleague indicated and my other colleagues indicated, this is beyond the scope of the redirect. And that is my additional objection.
Okay, so noted. Mr. Harvey, did you have you just stretching? I just want, didn't want to ignore you, okay?
And for the record, it's what's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. It's the goose gander rule, which has been adopted by the Georgia Court of Appeals.
Too much sauce.
All right, okay. Madam, I've overruled all their objections. You can proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Investigator, would you please tell the court what it is that is, or what are some of the repercussions, rather, of false flagging that you know of based on your training and your experience?
Physical assaults or any type of assault.
And have you had occasion through your investigations and through your training to see evidence of and instances of retaliation based on false flagging?
Through my investigation, I haven't had to deal with that.
Have you seen it during your conferences with GGIA, during presentations? Have you seen instances of retaliation due to false flagging?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Hold on. Yes, hold on. Basis, Mr. Menez.
I'm happy following the leading, that's what it's in.
I staying as the form. All right.
And Your Honor, thank you, Judge. I will ask the court to, once the state does ask a question, the fact that a question contains a yes or no answer, the case law, and I can present it to the court and to Mr. Menendez, is clear that yes or no answers are not leading questions, questions that have yes or no answers. Rather, if I were to ask, isn't it true that X, Y, or Z is a sign of retaliation for false flagging? That may be a leading question, but asking whether or not, if, is this a sign of false flagging? Yes or no does not make it a leading question. If I suggest the answer by saying, isn't it true that this is a sign of false flagging? That's a leading question. But asking, is it sunny outside? Because it's a yes or no question does not make it a leading question. If I said it's sunny outside, isn't it? That would be leading, and I'd ask that.
I would rather you just use the who, what, when, where, why, how.
I can do that, Judge. Yes, sir.
That's a lot easier.
Thank you,
Okay?
Judge.
All right.
Yes.
That was the judge telling her to calm down, ask correct questions. So let's see if she can do it.
And during your conferences and during your sessions and training with the GGIA, what type of things or information are you able to obtain that isn't necessarily available to the ordinary public? I'm asking a broader question now.
Information on different cases that's been completed and prosecuted, different tattoos from prison gangs or different maybe videos that they have of altercations or things of that nature.
How is it that the training that you receive as a member of GGIA, how is it that you obtain information, if you do, that isn't available to the general public en masse?
A lot of the information is available to the general public as far as the basic knowledge of the gangs.
What about specific instances of gangs and crimes that are being or still under investigation?
Yes.
That information available to the general public?
No.
Now, you said you work in classification at the DeKalb County Jail?
Yes.
Why is classification at all concerned with whether or not detainees are in a particular gang?
Objection, Judge.
Basis.
It was asked and answered on direct, the first direct.
Yeah, I'll sustain that.
Let me ask it differently.
Why?
Is it,
Order in the court.
Wait till the questions propounded, all of you. All right, madam.
would you tell the court ramifications of improperly classifying detainees as far as their gang membership is concerned?
Objection, Judge. It was asked and answered when she asked the question about false flagging.
I would tend to agree with that.
Your Honor, as far as the classification, false flagging is one thing. Having someone say to an officer, I'm a Blood, I'm a Crip, I'm YSL, and any kind of ramifications that may come from that, from another gang member is one thing. Asking the investigator what happens if they unintentionally put a YFN member in with a YSL member is a different question altogether.
I'll reverse my decision on that one. Go ahead and ask it.
So what are some of the ramifications of improperly classifying detainees?
The inmate could be placed in a pod with a different gang or a gang that could assault him for being misclassified.
I haven't watched forward. I don't know if they will accept.
You were
the
asked,
person
I believe,
or not.
by one of the last counsels for defense that crossed you several questions regarding whether or not you are speculating when you draw certain conclusions. Do you recall that?
Yes.
When you make a determination in terms of classification, do you rely solely on information from one source that is not supported by anything else?
Objection, Your Honor, that's a leading question.
I sustain the objections.
I'll ask a different question. Would it be proper to make a classification decision based solely on one thing without any other information?
Objection, Your Honor, that's also leading.
And that's an answer.
I'll sustain it.
Do you use multiple or only one thing to make your determination
That's an answer.
in terms of classification?
I'll allow that one.
Multiple.
I'm sorry, what?
Multiple.
Multiple?
Yes.
And
That's in direct contrary to what you answered in cross-examination. Jesus Christ, court, you can't get this guy in as an expert witness.
take any safeguards to vet the sources of your information?
Yes.
Okay. And are the safeguards that you take means that are always available to John Q. public? Or do you have resources and databases that are law enforcement only?
Yes, we have resources that are law enforcement only.
And are those resources some of the things that you use in classification, or not any of the things that you use in classification?
Those are some of the things that I use.
To work in classification, did you have to have any specialized training in gang identification, culture, and protocol, or did you not have to have any just to work in classification at the DeKalb County Jail?
It was not mandated, but it was highly recommended to have the training.
And when you say that it was not mandated, what was mandated in order for you to be an employee in classifications at the DeKalb County Jail?
Well, we had to have some type of experience on the floors, but we had to take classes sooner or later. We had to take classes.
What type of experience on the floor did you have to have when you signed up and applied to work in classifications? What kind of experience did you have to have, and what kind of experience did you represent that you had?
Compound question.
I'll stand as the form. Just break that up, Ms. Long.
We're gonna break that up, okay? What kind of experience did you have to have in order to get your job in classifications? Not the kind that was recommended, but the kind that you just had to have, baseline.
I had to have experience working the floors, actually working in the pods with the inmates and doing everyday activities with the inmates.
Why?
Because I couldn't have the position without having some type of knowledge of what goes on in the jail.
I'm sorry, I could not hear you.
Hold on. Yeah, I'll sustain the objection now.
Your Honor, that question specifically was not asked. Why it is that he had to have that baseline experience, that was not asked. So this broad objection based on what was asked during direct.
I'll reverse myself on that one. Okay?
Thank you, Your Honor. Why is it that it was important that you have personal knowledge working with inmates in the pods in order for you to get the job that you have?
So I had to have a familiarity, some understanding of what goes on in the jail and the inmates and the everyday activities of the inmates.
Why?
Because it would help me understand what I need to look for as far as investigating and conducting my classifications.
Does everybody in the general public have that same experience?
No.
Now, you spoke about what was highly recommended. Why is it that gang training is highly recommended for the job in classifications?
Because you have to know information about the gangs and identifications before you try to classify anybody.
Don't get me wrong, she's good at trying to get this specific investigator back into the realm of expert. But Jesus Christ, he can only answer correct if he's led to it. That's not what an expert is supposed to do. An expert is supposed to have a set area. Within these walls, I'm the expert. Now the prosecution Miss Love is telling him what his expertise actually is.
And did you indicate on your application for the job you now hold your specialized gang training?
Yes.
Okay. And apart from what has been covered in direct and cross, what did you put on your application? First of all, were you truthful in your application?
Yes.
And what training did you put on your application that you possess that caused you to get this job?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation, he doesn't know why.
Your Honor, he got the job, and I'm asking simply what training he listed on his application for the job.
That's stage 17's already been admitted, so.
Your Honor, his resume has been admitted. I'm asking what he listed on his application for the job.
That's fine, Your Honor, but she said that caused you to get the job.
Yeah, that's speculation.
I'll change the format if the court will permit me to do so.
I'm still
Oh, yes, Your Honor.
going to sustain the objections to form.
Yes, Your Honor. On your job application, did you list all of the training that you indicated on your resume?
Yes.
Did you list any additional training that you did not indicate on your resume?
No.
Okay.
Now, she is trying to rescue this specific gang expert. And I believe because this is the only one that they have available. And honestly, I'm starting to change my mind. I almost hope they will accept him as an expert witness on this extremely limited area. Because the defense will have a field day with him. With that said, it's better to have him out and in as just a witness. Not as an expert witness, because an expert witness can speculate. So that is the key here. I would love to see him squander under cross-examination in the actual trial. But when you can't unring a bell. You can't shove the shit back into the horse. You can't unfuck a clusterfuck. So no, I hope he will get excluded as an expert witness.
You were asked on cross-examination about proper protocol in making classifications. Do you recall that, whether or not you have certain identifiers that you use in order to classify a person as a member or an associate of a gang? Do you recall that?
Yes.
All right. Is that process one that is as simplified as 1 + 1 = 2? Or is there a degree of subjectivity that goes into making your classifications?
It's a degree of subjectivity.
Is that subjectivity in any way?
Oh yeah, I took tomorrow off because I've been spending between 12 and 16 hours, Monday through Thursday, doing paperwork, more or less. The government has issued a sort of new standard in safety protocols, safety SOPs. So in the and that is one of the things I'm really good at. Is I spent 3 years as a documents analyst in the European Union. So I've been spending maybe between already Monday through Thursday about 80 hours checking documents are these up to standards? So I took Friday off. And that will be glorious because I can sleep in a bit tomorrow morning. I can do the stuff I need to do around the farm. I will take a girlfriend out to lunch, go out shopping maybe, make her happy. Then I'll be preparing for Friday afternoon and Friday evening streams. So yeah, tomorrow will be a good day. Just saying.
Based on your own experience working with inmates and working with gangs and
Yes.
other training.
Gang Intelligence and Suppression Unit. Gang Intelligence, yeah. Sure.
And how many persons are currently qualified to work in classifications in the position that you hold at the DeKalb County Jail? How many of you are there, if you will?
There's 2 of us.
And how many inmates would you say you have a responsibility for the classifications for?
As far as inmates in the jail, period,
Yes.
it's over 1,000 inmates in the jail.
Are the 2 of you solely responsible for making those classifications?
Yes.
Him and one more for 1,000 inmates. And remember, these 1,000 inmates are circulating. There's always someone on the way out, always someone on the way in, and there's 2 of them. And this one is the one they want to call as an expert. How stupid is the other one? Just asking.
And do both of you work at the same time on a particular inmate that is being classified? Or do you have different inmates that you're responsible for classifying?
It would be different inmates.
You haven't missed much. This guy is a clown, and the prosecution is trying to resurrect him, trying to get him as an expert in gang classifications at that specific county jail.
Were you asked?
Oh, let's get back a few seconds there. He testified that he conducts his interview after intake without lawyer present. Without lawyer present. So he is asking the inmates when they come in, so hey, are you in a gang? And of course, maybe some inmates will tell him to fork off, or some will just answer him for some odd reason because they don't think that this is a part of their incarceration. So, yeah, that is problematic because they are admitting to being in a gang, which means their crimes can be deemed as gang related. And that is without a lawyer. Okay, a few of the MLS law chat has arrived. Welcome. This is a Daubert hearing. This is about approving people as expert in the coming trial. And this is a crap show. This is a complete crap show. This is day 4. In the past 5 episodes, we got through day 1 to 3. This is the guy on day 4. So far, out of all of the experts the state wants to bring in, 2, in my opinion, are somewhat competent. That was ADA Sprinkles, and the last guy, one of the guys from part 5 in my series, the medical examiner. They asked him, did you Mirandize them before you started asking them about gang affiliations? And he answered no. So he is interrogating them about their gang affiliation without lawyer, without reading them their rights. This is the guy the state wants to have as an expert in the coming trial. And no, this is not live. This is from January. This trial should have started mid-January. It still hasn't started. So what I'm doing here is streaming the Daubert hearing. I will continue streaming some of the motions and stuff like that, in just to have update myself and you as to what to expect in the trial. Then when the trial one starts, it could be next week, it could be next month, it could be next year. And oh yes, I am live. It's me here. Yeah. So that's what's going on. We don't know when the trial will start. And when the trial one starts, we have people still a year later who still does not have representation. Yeah, nice. That one, I'm quite sure that will be brought up if this clown is getting called as either a witness or an expert witness in the actual trial. Let's go on. Let's get through his testimony for the day.
Were you asked previously how many inmates that you've classified so far?
Yes.
And how many do you know overall have been classified since you have been at the DeKalb County Jail?
Over 50. I don't have an exact number.
Okay.
Let me ask a clarification question. Is it 50 that you classified as gang members, or is that correct?
Yes, over, yes.
Okay.
And do you classify every person who comes into the DeKalb County Jail as a gang member?
No.
How many, if any, retaliatory or acts of violence have you had or that you are aware of at the DeKalb County Jail based on a misclassification since you've been there?
Objection, Ryan, this has been accident already.
I'll sustain the objection.
Are you aware of any acts of violence that have occurred as a result of your misclassification?
No.
Would you be aware? Would you be made aware that, hey, you said this person was YSL and they're YFN and you put them over here and they got beaten up? Would you be made aware if that happened?
Yes, the inmate would state it.
Would your superiors let you know?
Yes.
Would it be something that would be formally addressed with you by your superiors?
Yes.
And that's never happened?
No.
This is so stupid. This is so incredibly stupid.
How many times have you been subjected to this type of examination? How many times have you had to ever undergo this sort of rigorous questioning?
And let me add the objection also as irrelevant. No relevant.
Yeah, I'm gonna sustain.
I withdraw. Thank you, Judge.
All right.
Oh yeah, if you're completely new here, at this time there are 28 defendants. 20 of them had representation. The rest didn't have representation at that time. To this day, 4 or maybe 5 of the accused in this RICO trial still don't have representation. They have been in jail for over a year without a bond hearing because they still don't have representation. And it's allowed in Georgia.
You were asked by, I believe, Mr. Chada about his client in particular and what gang his client in particular was classified as being a part of. Do you recall that? You were shown some documents. Do you recall being asked about Cordarius Dorsey?
Yes.
In that regard, following up on that just a little bit, is it the case in Georgia that you can only be affiliated with one particular group, or in Georgia, are there things such as hybrid gangs or gangs where you're affiliated with more than one group?
Your Honor,
Basis.
these are compound questions that are being, and these are leading questions that are being masked as non-leading by making them compound, when she already gave him the answer she expects. There's a lot, this feels like a police interrogation, where they're telling him what they want to hear. Some of the examples are.
I got it. I agree with you. It's in terms of form. I sustain the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Don't say thank you, Your Honor, when you did the fuck up.
Are you only allowed to be associated with one group in Georgia if you're a member of a gang?
No.
Say that louder, please.
No.
Okay.
Hold on for just 1 second. I saw Gosney at another stream. I'm just inviting him. So, yeah.
Are there any groups in Georgia that you would have classified as a gang that has elements of multiple gangs in them?
That's why I saw him, because I'm planning on sending you 2 flux once we are done. But she is having technical issues, so we are continuing with this meanwhile. So I hope Steve can get on here and help us decipher this, maybe, or just laugh with us. Steve needs a laugh. He really does. So please be nice to him. Let's continue.
Objection, Ryan. This question calls for speculation.
Repeat the question one more time.
Are there groups in Georgia that have been classified as gangs that have elements of multiple gangs in them?
No, I'm sorry. She asked if there were any groups that he would classify as gangs that have multiple elements of other gangs.
No.
No, I don't think so. I think their question was, are there if he can answer it, I'm gonna overrule your objection. If he
Your
can
Honor,
answer
I
the
could
question.
object to the broadness of the question. I mean, by definition, every gang has multiple elements of every gang. I mean, the answer is obviously yes.
Multiple elements of other gangs is what I said.
It's still an extremely broad question. Like the Aryan Brotherhood still has elements of Crips. I mean, what are we asking here? The question is too broad. Especially if he's supposed to be an expert in classification, in simply classification, not gangs in general.
Ms. Love, also saying this to form, ask it's overly broad.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead and rephrase it if you can.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will. When classifying inmates for placement in the jail, are you looking for
Yes. So far, from this hearing to today, 8 defendants have taken a deal. And in that deal, it includes testifying against Young Thug. His own Young Thug's brother took a deal. But we will get to that eventually. That he may or may not have violated his probation. So now he's inside. So we don't know if Young Thug's brother will actually testify.
have you on occasion seen inmates who are members of groups that have, for instance, a person, just for example, say there is a gang called the Orange Gang, and the Orange Gang has members from the Grape Gang, the Banana Gang, and the Apple Gang.
And I don't see that Aussie is
This person comes
streaming.
in, you see
So,
grape, apple, banana. Have you seen instances where a person comes in identifying as one gang, and that gang has elements of other gangs?
Yes.
Just one moment, Your Honor.
Oh. Okay, let's see how long we still have on this guy. We have redirect.
And have you been asked by the state
More
or anyone
redirect.
else during the course of
More
the pendency of this
Right.
trial
Okay.
to speak on anything
Okay.
beyond the classification?
You know what, kids? There's over 50 more minutes with this guy. 50. I can't go on that long. So I saw that Flux has got her crap together. They are online or live. So we will pick up this on Monday. Because tomorrow I have other streams to go. So I will send you over to Flux. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for the new member. Thank you everybody for showing up again. And I will be tormenting Flux in the chat unless she invites me on. See you later, boys and girls, and whatever you choose to be. Have fun. Talk to you later. Have a nice day.